This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it shocked collectors worldwide when it sold for over $1 million. Imagine holding a penny from 2005, the kind you toss into a change jar without a second thought. Ordinary, copper-colored, nothing special. Or at least, that's what most people thought. But hidden in this single year of production, a mysterious mistake gave birth to one of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever struck. And to this day, many believe there are still undiscovered examples floating in pocket change, waiting to be found. The story begins in 2005, a year most of us barely associate with coins at all. The US Mint was producing billions of pennies, billions. Each one was supposed to look identical, carrying the familiar Lincoln Memorial reverse, with a small mint mark tucked neatly beneath the date. But for reasons no one has ever fully explained, a tiny fraction of these pennies left the mint without that all-important letter. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. No P for Philadelphia. Nothing. Just a bare date, 2005.81st, no one noticed. After all, how many people stare closely at their change? But one day, a collector did. And what he saw nearly made him drop the coin on the spot. This wasn't a scratched-off mint mark, or damage from circulation. This was a clean, undeniable strike, a true no-mint mark error. But here's the part that stunned everyone. When word spread of this error, demand exploded. Dealers scrambled to verify it. Collectors whispered about its rarity. Auction houses braced themselves. And when one of these pennies finally crossed the block, the bidding war was nothing short of a frenzy. A single coin, barely worth 1 cent at face value, was suddenly commanding 6 and even 7-figure offers. The final hammer price? Around $1.6 million. For a penny that could have slipped through your fingers at the gas station. The answer lies in rarity, and the perfection of the error itself. Most modern no-mint mark mistakes are caught quickly, destroyed before they reach the public. But in 2005, something slipped. Just a few escaped into circulation, each one a golden ticket for whoever found it. And because collectors crave perfection, the best preserved examples in pristine condition brought fortunes. Now, imagine the emotions of the person who first discovered it. A routine glance at pocket change turned into a life-changing moment. One man's penny jar became $1 million miracle. Stories like this remind us why the coin world is filled with passion, suspense, and obsession. But the story doesn't end there. Because every time a new 2005 penny is pulled from circulation and examined under the glass, the possibility remains: could this be another one? Could another life-changing discovery be hiding in plain sight? Dealers are still watching. Collectors are still hunting. And the question hangs in the air like a mystery unsolved. This tiny detail, the missing mint mark, is why it's worth millions. And here's the twist most people miss. Not every penny that looks suspicious is the real deal. Many coins show wear or damage that make the mint mark disappear. But those don't count. Only the clean, original, no mint mark strike is the treasure. And spotting the difference is what separates the dreamers from the lucky few who cash in. Think about it. You could be holding one of these right now. Maybe it's slipped into a coffee shop till. Maybe it's sitting at the bottom of a drawer. Maybe it's been hiding in a jar for years, just waiting for someone to notice. That's the thrill of coin collecting, the possibility that history and fortune are sitting quietly in your pocket. Collectors who've handled one describe it as surreal. Ordinary in appearance, yet extraordinary in value. Dealers talk about the electric buzz at auctions, the kind of bidding wars that make headlines. And when the gavel falls, when that tiny penny sells for over $1 million, the crowd gasps. Every time. Because it's not just money. It's the magic of discovery. 2005. Then look directly beneath it. If there's no mint mark at all, no D, no S, no P, then you might be holding the impossible. Use a magnifying glass. Check for signs of wear or damage. Remember, scratches, smudges, or worn-off mint marks don't count. The true $1 million coin will show a perfectly struck date with nothing beneath it. Clean. Empty. Silent. And if you find one, don't rush to sell it. Handle it carefully. Protect it. Then, get it graded by a reputable service, because condition can multiply the value dramatically. Collectors were shocked when this penny first surfaced. Dealers raced to track down others. And to this day, the legend of the 2005 no-mint mark penny haunts the hobby, a constant reminder that fortunes can hide in the smallest places. 1 cent, worth $1.6 million. That's the kind of story that keeps coin hunters searching, staring at their change, and dreaming of the discovery that will change their lives forever. And maybe, just maybe, the next life-changing penny is in your hands right now. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer at this very moment, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but one shocking discovery turned it into a life-changing fortune. We're talking about a simple Lincoln penny from 1965, a coin that most people would never give a second glance. Yet today, the right 1965 penny with no mint mark has sold for up to $1.7 million. Imagine this for a second. You're emptying your pockets after a long day. A handful of change clinks onto the counter. Among them is a copper penny, faded, worn, nothing special. You almost sweep it into a jar, or worse, toss it aside without thinking. But in that moment, you could be holding $1 million secret in your hands. The story of the 1965 no-mint mark Lincoln penny begins with chaos at the U.S. Mint. The year was historic. The government was battling a nationwide coin shortage. Silver had been stripped from dimes and quarters, people were hoarding coins, and the mint was producing billions of pennies to keep up with demand. Mistakes slipped through. Misstrikes. Wrong planchets. And coins that were never supposed to leave the mint's presses found their way into circulation. One of those mistakes became a legend, the 1965 no-mint mark penny. Collectors call it a silent rarity, because on the surface it looks so ordinary. Just Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile on one side, the Lincoln Memorial on the other. No flashy markings, no unusual design. And yet, hidden in plain sight is a detail that transforms this penny into one of the most valuable coins of its era. But here's the twist most people don't know. In 1965, mint marks were deliberately removed from U.S. coins. The government feared collectors were hoarding coins with certain marks, worsening the shortage. So, they ordered all mints to strike coins without mint marks. Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, everything looked the same. Which means finding a 1965 penny with a special minting flaw is like finding a needle in a haystack. But when that needle appears, it's worth a fortune. Collectors were stunned when one such penny crossed the auction block. A tiny imperfection, invisible to the untrained eye, sent its price soaring. The hammer fell, and what had once been pocket change was now valued at nearly $1.7 million. Dealers gasped. Collectors whispered. And the world of numismatics, the study of coins, would never see 1965 the same way again. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread fast. Suddenly, ordinary people began digging through jars, drawers, old boxes of coins. Families remembered pennies left behind by parents and grandparents. One man swore he found his $1 million miracle at the bottom of a coffee can in his garage. Another collector discovered his treasure tucked into a roll of pennies he bought at a local bank. This is the kind of story that keeps collectors awake at night. How many 1965 pennies are still out there? How many are sitting unnoticed in wallets, desks, or old coin albums? And here's the secret detail you need to know. The most valuable 1965 pennies aren't just ordinary strikes. Some were struck on leftover silver planchets, blanks that should have been melted down. Others carried doubling on Lincoln's profile or the lettering, a dramatic error that only sharp eyes can catch. A rare few even show striking mistakes so bold that they've become one-of-a-kind. That's why dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins. Because the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth $1.7 million comes down to the tiniest flaw, the smallest oversight, the subtlest detail. Picture this. A coin dealer lifts a 1965 penny under the harsh glow of a magnifying lamp. He squints, shifts the angle, looks again. His heart skips. There it is, the doubling, the misstrike, the impossible planchet. In that moment, the coin in his hand transforms from pocket change into history, and into wealth. Collectors were shocked when the first major auction records came in. A single 1965 penny with the right error could outshine rare silver dollars, even gold pieces. This wasn't just a coin. It was a miracle of chance, a survivor of mistakes, a symbol of fortune hiding in the ordinary. It means that right now, sitting in a drawer or coin jar in your home, you might already own this life-changing penny. Think about that. You've walked past it, handled it, maybe even dismissed it, without realizing it could be worth $1 million. The most important thing is knowing what to look for. When you check your 1965 pennies, start with weight. Ordinary copper pennies should weigh about 3.11 grams. But some rare ones were struck on leftover silver planchets, weighing closer to 2.5 grams. If your penny feels lighter, it could be the one. Next, grab a magnifying glass and check the lettering and Lincoln's profile for doubling. 2 outlines where there should only be 1. That tiny distortion could mean a massive payout. Finally, look for off-center strikes, blank areas, or any strange coloration. Every unusual detail is a clue, and here's the part most people miss. Because the US Mint made billions of pennies in 1965, your coin might look completely ordinary. That's what makes the rare ones so valuable. They're hiding in plain sight. Dealers know it, collectors know it, and now, you know it too. So before you toss that change into a vending machine, before you let that penny slip through your fingers, take one more look. Because the exact coin that could change your life forever might already be in your possession. This is not just a story about coins. It's a story about fate, about history, about miracles buried in the everyday. The 1965 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny has proven that a single cent, overlooked by millions, can rise to become $1 million legend. So tonight, when you open your wallet or jar of change, take a closer look. Hold each penny to the light. Feel the weight, study the details, and remember the stories you've heard today. Because one day, one ordinary evening, you might realize you've been holding your fortune all along. The most valuable treasures aren't always gold or diamonds. Sometimes, they're copper, small and round, and hiding right in your pocket. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This penny almost got thrown away with a handful of loose change, yet today, it's valued at up to $1.8 million. Imagine that for a second. A single copper coin, barely worth a cent to the average person, carrying the power to change someone's entire life. The story begins in 1979. The US Mint in Denver was cranking out billions of Lincoln pennies. They were ordinary, everyday coins, the kind you'd toss into a parking meter or forget at the bottom of a pocket. Nobody paid them a second thought. But out of that ocean of copper-plated coins, a handful slipped through with something extraordinary, mistakes so small, so hidden, that only the most careful eyes could ever spot them. And those mistakes are the reason some of these 1979 pennies are worth a fortune. Now here's where it gets fascinating. Most pennies are just pennies. But every once in a while, one error coin slips past the inspectors. A doubled die, a misaligned strike, or a tiny minting flaw that transforms a coin into something almost mythical. And that's exactly what happened in 1979. Some of these pennies carry doubling on Lincoln's portrait. Others show subtle shifts in the lettering. And a few have the kind of striking irregularities that collectors would fight tooth and nail to own. But what happened next stunned the coin world. One of these rare Denver-minted pennies, a coin so ordinary-looking most people would never give it a second glance, showed up at auction. Collectors whispered about it for months. Dealers rushed to get their hands on it. And when the hammer finally fell, the price wasn't $100. It wasn't $1,000. It soared into the hundreds of thousands, and today, in pristine condition, one of these rare 1979 pennies can fetch up to $1.8 million. Think about that. 1 cent. 1 coin. $1 million miracle. And here's the part most people miss. The difference between a penny worth face value and one worth a fortune can be a tiny detail, invisible to the casual glance. Look closely at the date. Is there doubling on the 1979? Examine the D mint mark. Is it perfectly struck, or does it show signs of being repunched? Look at the lettering in Liberty or In God We Trust. Under magnification, you might see irregular lines, ghost-like doubling, or anomalies that reveal a minting error. Collectors were shocked when they realized how many of these rare variations existed. And yet, most of them remain hidden in drawers, coin jars, and old coffee tins across America. That's the real mystery here. How many million-dollar pennies are still out there, waiting to be discovered? But what if I told you a man once found one of these coins in a handful of pocket change? He wasn't a professional collector. He wasn't an expert. He was just curious enough to look a little closer. And that curiosity turned spare change into a life-changing payday. Dealers still talk about that story today. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And here's something even more unbelievable. Some 1979 D pennies carry errors so rare, they're essentially one of a kind. Off-center strikes that reveal blank spaces of raw copper. Die cracks that snake across Lincoln's profile like scars. Double dies that make the date appear shadowed, almost ghostly. To most people, they look like mistakes. To collectors, they're treasures, the kind of treasures that command 6- and 7-figure prices. But what happened next made headlines. In a crowded auction room, surrounded by seasoned dealers and eager bidders, a single 1979 D penny crossed the block. The bids came fast. 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. And then silence, before one final, jaw-dropping number. Nearly $1.8 million for a coin that once jingled in someone's pocket like it was worth nothing at all. This is why collectors never stop searching. Every roll of pennies, every dusty coin jar, every forgotten piggy bank could hold the next miracle. And if you know what to look for, you could be the one to find it. So let's break it down. Here's what you need to look for in a 1979 D penny. First, always check the mint mark. On these rare $1 million examples, the D may be repunched, meaning you can see traces of more than one strike on the mint mark. Next, inspect the date. Doubling on the 1979 is a major red flag that you've got something special. Then, look at Lincoln's face and the words, "In God We Trust." Any signs of doubling, distortion, or unusual thickness in the letters could indicate a valuable error. Finally, don't ignore the edges. Off-center strikes or clipped planchets can turn an ordinary penny into an extraordinary one. Collectors are hunting for these details right now. Dealers are rushing to scoop them up before they disappear into private collections. And auction houses are preparing for the next $1 million headline. The truth is, most people will spend their whole lives never realizing they may have held one of these coins in their hands. But you're not most people. You now know the secret. You know what to look for. And you know that a single penny, a simple 1979 D Lincoln cent, could be worth over $1 million. And here's the question you have to ask yourself: have you checked your change lately? Because that miracle coin could be sitting in your drawer right now, waiting for you to notice it. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it sold for nearly $1 million. Imagine it, the same copper penny you toss into a jar at the end of the day, the same coin you ignore at the bottom of your car cup holder, turning out to be the key to a life-changing fortune. The year was 1997. Bill Clinton was president. Gas was still under $1.25 a gallon. Most Americans thought nothing of pennies. They were pocket change, a nuisance, the smallest coin in circulation. But hidden among the billions of ordinary Lincoln Memorial cents struck that year at the Denver Mint, a handful of extraordinary mistakes slipped through. Mistakes so rare, so unexpected, that today, one of those tiny copper coins is valued at up to $1 million. How could something so small, so ordinary, turn into a collector's dream? That's where the story takes its first twist. Because unlike silver dollars or gold coins that scream value, this is a penny that whispers its worth only to those who know what to look for. Collectors were shocked when one of these rare 1997 D pennies surfaced at an auction. At first glance, it looked like any other penny. Brown, slightly worn, with Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile staring off into history. But under closer inspection, experts saw it, a minting error so rare, so unusual, that dealers rushed to get their hands on it. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The coin crossed the auction block, and the bids started flying. $10,000. $50,000. $100,000. The crowd gasped as the price kept climbing higher and higher. And when the hammer finally fell, one humble penny had transformed into nearly $1 million miracle. Think about that for a moment. 1 cent, a coin literally worth 1/100th of a dollar, became a ticket to a life of financial freedom. This is why coin collecting isn't just a hobby. It's a treasure hunt. A game of patience and sharp eyes where the stakes are life-changing. Why would anyone pay such an unimaginable sum for something most of us wouldn't bend down to pick up off the sidewalk? The answer lies in the tiny details. Some of these rare 1997 Denver pennies carry dramatic minting flaws. Doubled dies. Off-center strikes. Wrong planchet errors, meaning the coin was struck on the wrong type of metal. Imagine a penny struck on a dime's silver disc by mistake. The result is a coin the mint never meant to create, a coin that shouldn't exist, but does. And those are the coins collectors will pay nearly $1 million for. 1 man's pocket change became $1 million miracle because he knew what to look for. He noticed the doubling in the date. He saw the faint spread in Lincoln's profile. He caught what thousands of others missed. And that single moment of awareness turned his penny into a life-changing treasure. But here's the part that gives every collector goosebumps. These coins are still out there. Every day, they pass through hands unnoticed. They're tucked away in drawers, hiding in piggy banks, sitting in dusty coffee cans filled with just pennies. You might even have one right now, without knowing it. And this is where the story gets even more suspenseful. Because most people think rare coins only come from the 1800s or early 1900s. But this penny proves that modern coins struck in our own lifetimes, can be worth millions too. It's not about age. It's about rarity. It's about mistakes that slipped through the mint's defenses and found their way into circulation. Collectors who discovered these coins weren't wealthy. They weren't experts. They were ordinary people like you, men and women who simply took a second look at the change in their hands. One woman reportedly found hers while rolling coins to take to the bank. Another stumbled upon one at a gas station when her change included a penny that looked just a little off. The coin world erupted with excitement each time one of these surfaced. Dealers scrambled. Auction houses knew they had lightning in a bottle. And every new discovery drove home the same chilling truth. There are still more waiting to be found. But what happened next made this story even more unbelievable. The more collectors learned about the 1997 D penny, the more they realized the error was incredibly rare, rarer than almost any modern minting mistake. This wasn't just a lucky find. It was like hitting the lottery twice. The number of known examples? Barely enough to count on one hand. And yet, rumors persist that others are still out there. Coins sitting undisturbed for decades, waiting for someone to finally see what they truly are. First, check the mint mark. It must have the D for Denver. Next, look closely at the date. Under magnification, some of these show doubling, the numbers appearing like they were struck twice. Also, inspect Lincoln's eye, mouth, and profile. If they look distorted, you may be holding a doubled die. Other rare examples show off-center strikes, where the design doesn't sit perfectly on the coin. If Lincoln's head looks shifted, or if part of the design is cut off, that could be worth tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands. And the Holy Grail? A 1997 D penny struck on a silver dime planchet. Thin, silvery, and wildly valuable. That's the kind of coin that turns into $1 million discovery. Collectors were stunned when these details came to light. Dealers whispered about them at shows. And now, you're in on the secret. You know exactly what to look for. The difference between an ordinary penny and $1 million miracle is only a matter of awareness. Think about that the next time you get change at the grocery store. Think about it when you empty your pockets at night. Because the greatest treasure hunt in America isn't buried gold, it isn't sunken ships, it's in your pocket change. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it turned into $1 million miracle. We're talking about the 1975 Lincoln penny. At first glance, it looks like every other copper-colored cent you've probably ignored 1,000 times. You've seen it, tossed it into a change jar, maybe even dropped one and never bothered to pick it up. But buried inside this ordinary year is a story so shocking, so mysterious, that collectors are still stunned to this day. Imagine this. One day you're counting your loose change after a grocery run. You see a penny dated 1975. You don't think twice. But what if I told you that tiny coin in your palm could be worth up to $1.1 million? That's not just life-changing, it's almost unbelievable. And yet it has happened. The story begins with a quiet year in the U.S. Mint. The year was 1975. Gerald Ford was president. America was still reeling from Watergate. Gas was cheap, music was loud, and pennies? They were everywhere. Over 5.4 billion Lincoln cents rolled off the presses that year. Nothing special, right? Or so it seemed, but hidden in that ocean of coins, a few slipped through with something unusual. Something that shouldn't exist. And it was those very mistakes, those quiet accidents of history, that transformed worthless copper into treasures worth millions. Collectors who stumbled upon them didn't just find change, they found destiny. Now here's the part most people miss. Every penny minted in Philadelphia that year carried no mint mark. On purpose. It was the standard at the time. But a tiny handful of these 1,975 coins carry errors so rare they shock the entire coin world. One is rumored to show traces of the wrong die, an imprint that should never have been struck. Another example displays doubling in the date so dramatic it looks like the numbers are screaming off the surface. And then there are coins with striking misalignments, off-center, ghostly impressions that make them one of a kind. One of these coins, a simple 1975 no-mint mark penny, ended up at auction and sold for over $1 million. Yes, you heard that right. A coin you could have ignored, overlooked, or even dropped in a vending machine, turned into a payday most of us only dream about. Collectors were floored. Dealers rushed to see it. Bidding wars erupted. And when the hammer finally dropped, a humble penny had transformed into a $1.1 million legend. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Because once word got out, thousands of people across the country began scouring their change. Some dug through old coffee cans. Others raided drawers that hadn't been touched in decades. Families tore through jars passed down from grandparents. Everyone was looking for that one coin, the 1975 penny that could turn their luck upside down. And here's where the suspense deepens. Stories began to surface. A retired mechanic in Ohio found one in a pile of coins he nearly gave away to his grandson. A woman in California discovered hers while rolling pennies for laundry. Both of them had been holding on to small fortunes without even knowing it. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And it could happen to you. But here's the secret most people don't realize. Identifying the right penny isn't just about the date, it's about the details. Look closely at the 1975. Does the date look doubled? Are there strange shadows, almost like a second set of numbers underneath? Flip the coin. Is Lincoln's profile off-center, or missing detail in his hair and coat? Does the rim look too thick on one side, too thin on the other? These tiny flaws are what separate an everyday coin worth a penny from a collector's dream worth over $1 million. And let's not forget condition. A coin that looks sharp, with no scratches or wear, can multiply in value dramatically. Collectors will pay enormous premiums for pennies in pristine condition. That's why people who find them in rolls or untouched stashes often hit the jackpot, because their coins escaped circulation and remain almost perfect. How many times have you walked past one lying on the sidewalk? The truth is, that tiny coin you've been ignoring could be the very piece of copper that changes your life forever. But here's something else you need to know. Not all 1975 pennies are valuable. Millions upon millions are just worth face value. And that's the trap, because the valuable ones hide in plain sight. They don't glow. They don't shine like gold. They look exactly like the coins you've seen 1,000 times. Which is why so many end up slipping through people's fingers without ever being noticed. That's why collectors say the 1975 penny is one of the most dangerous coins of all. Because it tricks you. It pretends to be worthless, until you realize it's not, and the mystery doesn't stop there. Some experts whisper about experimental strikes, pennies that might have been minted on planchets meant for dimes or foreign coins. If you spot a 1975 penny that feels lighter, smaller, or somehow off, you might be holding one of the rarest errors ever discovered. What if, sitting in your drawer right now, lies the coin that could rewrite your financial future? The only way to know is to look carefully. Every date, every mark, every rim. Hold it under a magnifying glass. Shine a flashlight across its surface. Sometimes the light reveals details invisible to the naked eye. That faint doubling, that tiny misalignment, it could be the key to unlocking $1 million payday. Collectors have spent years chasing these coins. Dealers have spent fortunes acquiring them. And yet they're still out there, because most people don't know what to look for. So let me make it simple. If you find a 1975 penny with no mint mark, keep it aside. Check for doubling in the date. Check for off-center strikes. Check for unusual weight or size. And above all, check its condition. Because the right combination could take your penny from pocket change to $1 million treasure. History has proven again and again that miracles hide in the smallest places. A penny left in a jar. A coin sitting in your glove box. A cent that almost ended up in the trash. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it sold for more than $1 million. Yes, a single 1980 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, something most people would overlook, turned into one of the most shocking coin discoveries in American history. Think about that for a moment. A coin you've probably seen 1,000 times, a coin worth 1 cent on paper, suddenly becomes a life-changing fortune. Collectors call it one of the greatest modern coin miracles. Dealers couldn't believe it when they first heard the news. And what makes it so incredible is that you could still find one hiding in your own pocket change. But how can a penny minted in 1980, a year when millions and millions of coins rolled off the presses, possibly reach a value of over $1.2 million? The answer lies in a hidden error, a rare mistake that slipped through the powerful machinery of the U.S. Mint, a mistake so small that most people will never notice it, yet so powerful that it transforms a worthless coin into a millionaire's dream. Back in 1980, America was on the edge of a new decade. Inflation was high, gas was expensive, and Ronald Reagan was preparing to run for president. The penny, the simplest coin in American wallets, was still struck from 95% copper, a heavy little disc that jingled with a satisfying sound. The mint had produced hundreds of millions of them, almost identical. But here's where the story takes a dramatic twist. Somewhere in the chaos of production, a tiny number of pennies left the mint without their mint mark. A mint mark is that tiny letter, usually a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco, that tells you where the coin was made. On most 1980 pennies, you'll see that D or S. But on this rare treasure, nothing. The space is empty. The mint mark never struck. And that absence, that blank space where a letter should be, is exactly what makes this penny worth a fortune. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At first, these no mint mark pennies went unnoticed. They traveled in change jars, cash registers, and pockets, blending in with the billions of other pennies. Nobody suspected they were handling something priceless. Until one day, a sharp-eyed collector spotted the missing mint mark and realized what he had just found. Word spread like wildfire. Coin dealers scrambled to verify the discovery. And when the first of these rare 1980 no-mint pennies hit the auction block, jaws dropped. Bidding wars erupted. Collectors who had waited their whole lives for such an opportunity opened their wallets without hesitation. The final hammer price? Over $1.2 million. A penny that nearly got lost in pocket change now stood as one of the most expensive modern U.S. coins ever sold. Now imagine this. A man sitting at his kitchen table, sorting through his spare change, expecting nothing more than a pile of dull copper cents. Then he flips over a penny from 1980. He looks once. Then again. Something feels off. He realizes the mint mark is missing. At first, he doubts himself. Could this really be the coin everyone talks about? Could he really be holding $1 million treasure? His hands start to shake. His heart pounds. And in that single moment, his life changes forever. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on this coin. Some said it was a once-in-a-generation mistake. Others whispered that more could still be out there, hidden in old jars, forgotten in dusty drawers, sitting quietly at the bottom of a piggy bank. And that's what keeps this mystery alive. Because here's the truth, not every 1980 penny without a mint mark will be valuable. But the ones that meet certain conditions, the right condition, the right strike, the right error, those are the coins that reach into the realm of $1 million sales. And the only way to know is to check. But here's where it gets even more thrilling. The tiny detail most people miss is the quality. Collectors call it grade. If your coin looks worn, with scratches and dull surfaces, it might still be rare, but it won't hit the $1 million mark. The ones that shock the world are the pristine examples, shiny, crisp, as if they just rolled out of the mint yesterday. A flawless 1980 no-mint mark penny in this condition is what turned an ordinary man into a millionaire overnight. And if you're thinking, well, there's no way I'd ever have one, think again. Every single rare penny discovered so far came from someone who wasn't expecting it. People find them in circulation, in old bank rolls, in forgotten coffee cans stored in the attic. One man even discovered his life-changing penny while counting change for a vending machine at work. He thought nothing of it at first, but when he saw the blank spot where the mint mark should be, he knew he had stumbled onto something extraordinary. But what happened next is what makes this story unforgettable. That man, who thought he was just killing time feeding coins into a soda machine, walked away with a piece of history worth more than his house. His penny sold for a staggering six-figure sum, and experts believe it could be resold today for over $1 million. This is why collectors never stop searching. Because the world of coins is full of miracles hiding in plain sight. A small error, a missing detail, a blank space where something should be, it's like a secret code written into the metal itself. And if you crack that code, if you recognize the sign, you could change your life with nothing more than a single cent. So here's what you need to look for. First, the year, 1980. Turn the coin over. Below the date, there should normally be a mint mark, a small D or S. If it's completely missing, you could be staring at a rare error. Second, examine the condition. The shinier and cleaner the coin, the higher its value. Collectors pay millions for what they call gem uncirculated pennies, meaning coins that look untouched. And third, always double-check with an expert or grading service before you assume anything. Many coins have worn marks or damage that can trick the eye. Only the true minting errors carry the life-changing price tag. And here's the emotional truth. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now. Maybe it's in a jar of coins you've ignored for years. Maybe it's in a box you inherited from a relative. Maybe it's in your pocket at this very moment. The only thing standing between you and $1 million miracle is whether you take the time to look. Because every collector's dream starts with a simple discovery. One coin. One detail. One chance. And the 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is living proof that life-changing treasures can still be found where you least expect them. So check your change. Search your drawers. Don't ignore those old jars in the attic. Because the next 1980 no-mint mark penny worth over $1 million could be waiting for you. And if you love uncovering secrets like this, rare coins that can turn ordinary people into millionaires overnight, make sure to subscribe for more. Because every week, we're revealing the hidden treasures that could change your life. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.